right, everybody. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here. And of course, I'm joined as always with both of my co hosts, Darian Smith and Jimmy Marion, and Trent Dilfer. Welcome back to the program, Trent. How's it been?
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a whirlwind. A lot going on every day. You wake up every day, you don't know what challenge is coming, but we're fired up in the building just about finding solutions each day. So that's kind of our objective.
Right. Well, before we get started, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Cahaba Brewing Company. Folks, if you haven't, check out cahababrewing.com for all their latest offerings in the tap room and events they're taking place in the tap room. So go to cahababrewing.com. We thank you again to Cahaba for sponsoring the Blazer Victory podcast. And shout out to YouTube. Follow us, unsubscribe to YouTube, Blazer Pod. We're still itching to try to get to 400 before football season starts. So this is the main reason what we brought Trent on. So that's
Yeah, there
gonna
you go.
push us
Push
up
us past the finish
a
line.
thousand. Hey, the sky's the limit. But Trent, so just to kick things off, like how was spring ball? Did you notice anything? Was started later this season, but how was spring ball overall this spring?
Yeah, the late start was I'm still kind of taking it all in if it was the right thing to do. I think it was. Part of it wasn't I don't really think on the table to start any earlier because of a new defensive staff. And anytime and then not only a new defensive staff, but some of these guys coming in later because the NFL cycle had to finish its hiring process for guys like T, guys like JC, so to get everybody on the same page defensively, we kind of needed the late start. And then I was looking at kind of the portal window and the final schedule, and I'm like, it makes sense to be dragging this thing into when the portals open because now the players are more engaged. They're not hearing all the weird voices in their heads when they go home or when they're in their apartments by themselves. And then finals was the week after. So I thought it was also good. They tend to do better academically when they're doing football, believe it or not. Like structure creates structure instead of the opposite. So I think it was a good move. I think where it was tough was limited bodies. You only had so many healthy bodies, and then when you lost two offensive linemen in the middle of camp, we already started light on offensive linemen and corners, and then you get a couple banged up, and then it's really hard to practice. Like for the spring showcase, we had 55 bodies and pads. We had nine offensive linemen, used to having 15, 16, 17. So um, practicing was getting the amount of reps we wanted to get in practice was tough. So, but the net of it, feel good about our progress. I think that the real objective going into the spring was getting everybody aligned, and that's a big word and it means a lot of different things, but really that's what it is. It's getting, upwards of 60 plus new people in the building that weren't with us last year aligned. Now, there's a lot of good things because we weren't very successful last year. So there's the good thing of having new people. Hopefully, you're upgrading your people, both player and coach. But getting everyone on the same page is a challenge. So it was a tiresome off season of trying to reestablish a better culture than we've had, integrating new thoughts into that because you have new people learning from those new people, and then making sure we're all speaking the same language and thinking the same thoughts and have the same standards.
Yeah, so you speak on that's interesting. I like to stay there when you was talking about alignment, right? And just getting everybody aligned. And you've been here for a couple of years now, a couple seasons in, a couple of lessons, different staff. So what does alignment does that change now from when you first started and you spoke on the same as the vertical alignment?
Mhm.
Is it the same, or have you learned different lessons of things that you want to integrate now?
Well, I think it really comes down to words versus action. You can have things on your wall. You can have PowerPoints, you can have head coach core values, everybody has those things. I think what alignment is when the rest of the people in your building are bought into those things. Or you pivot as a head coach and you either increase some standards and soften other things,
Hmm.
just through lessons learned to adjust to your staff or to adjust to your people. I don't think there's a right or a wrong. I think it has to fit under um, how I see the vision of the program going and how we're going to make these changes. I think what happened to us the first years, and a lot of things have gone wrong, but one of the major things that's gone wrong is I would get a lot of head bobbing, like, yeah, we're with you, we're with you. Like the words matched up, and then their actions following the words didn't align with their head nodding and their agreement. Their agreement was not in their actions, it was with their words. The thing I've appreciated the most about this group, both player and coach, is when I'm strong about something, when it is, hey, this is how we're going to do something. Um, the action points leading after that conversation or after that meeting or after whatever it is
Hmm.
are exactly as I've requested. And I try not to be, I call myself a rehabilitated micromanager. I really try hard not to micromanage, but it is in my nature. So really what I've tried to do is say, hey, listen, guys, I'm going to say this once. And I've had a lot of conversations behind the scenes on whether this is the best way or not. So this is not just my opinion either. This is taking a lot of people's input into account. And I'm going to say it once, and I expect it to be executed from here. Like, I don't want a lot of follow-ups after this. There should not be a lot of one-off meetings, follow-up staff meetings. Well, what did you mean by that? Like, this is it. So, kind of laying it out there on the front end and then seeing if your people can actually handle that. And this group has handled that very, very well, whether it be player, coach, staffer. I think it's very clear that if it's important to me, then it should be important to all of us. And a lot of the things that are important to me have come to me through collaboration. It's not that I sit there and wake up and say, "Well, I'm gonna do this today," and everybody's gonna have to do what I say. No, there's a lot of
Hmm.
collaboration. I would say that, you know, 50% of the good ideas are somebody else's. Um, so that I know this is very esoteric, and we're not talking about players and scheme and all that, but from my seat, it really feels like growth because I'm seeing the action daily, where the last 2 years it's been torture to see the opposite of what the words coming out of somebody's mouth are.
Gotcha.
Coach, one of the new additions on your staff that I wanted to ask you about was Sam Mills on the defensive line. So we had recorded an episode prior and talked to Mark, and we'd expressed our excitement of some of these staff additions. But I don't think his addition had been announced yet. So
Yeah.
could you just tell us a little bit more about his background and how he's doing and fitting into this UAB football team?
He's tremendous, and I'm gonna brag. And you asked me about any of these new coaches, I'm gonna be very bullish on it. But Sammy, I would say, especially because he was the one I was most curious to see how he integrated into the college game. He's close to 50 years old. He's been in the NFL forever. His dad's a Hall of Famer. I played against his dad. He's coached multiple Hall of Famers, multiple Pro Bowlers, like multiple free agents that he's turned into good players. But his whole life has been the NFL.
Hmm.
And it's a very different, you can say, oh, I hired an NFL coach. Cool. Give me a pat on the back, but they got to be able to coach college ball. And there is a difference here. So, it was that one was, I leaned heavily on Coach Russ and Coach Vees, who have coached with him. They literally said they'd take a bullet for him. So, the character reference, the type of coach, the engagement, I kind of felt comfortable with moving, off jump because the two people that vouched for him. But then to watch him in action and watch, one, he's an expert. Like he is, when I say an expert, everybody calls himself an expert. Very few are experts. He's an expert in defensive line play. That's his whole life. Like his entire life has been mastering defensive line play. So, he's a master teacher. Um, he's a master motivator, and he is incredible at grabbing the soul of a player and connecting with it. Like these players will die for him.
Mm.
They are loyal to like this man would die for me, so I'll die for him. Like that's kind of the feeling you have coming out of the defensive line room. Um, and I think the defensive line room was recruited in such a way that had that type of person. Like we really identified the person, the character, the football character, and the off-field character as much as the traits, because we wanted a group that's got us killed. Our defensive line has not played hard for 2 years.
Mm.
They have cowered in big moments. They have done the wrong thing. It's been literally um, Murphy's Law. And we had to blow that thing up and make sure that it was a group that was willing to do the things it takes to be successful in college football. And so we have good people in that room too. And I think the combination of a great coach with really, really good people, they were tough to block, man. I mean, it was a rough spring blocking the defensive line. Now, part of that is we need help on the offensive line, but part of it was like they play super, super hard. And if they ever exhale, the loudest voice on the field is Sam Mills.
And Trent, you brought in Ron Lewis as cornerbacks coach, from former DC at Alabama State. And that defense for a couple years now at Alabama State has been respected well along, among the FCS ranks. Can you talk a little bit about Ron Lewis and tell Blazer fans what to expect out of that cornerback position?
Yeah, I'd say the Ryan Lewis hire is good for us and good for him. I think it's a mutual beneficial experience here. We're really valuing his coordinator perspective, um, his Alabama ties, both in recruiting and relationships. Um, Coaching corners is new for him, but that's good. It's a fresh perspective. Usually when you're a coordinator, you work from the inside out and the front back. Um, to start on the edges and out down back is literally a 180 for a coordinator many times. So it's been good to have that perspective and really good for his development. And then to be around a professional staff, these guys are, this is not a knock on college coaches. I have a ton of respect for college coaches. However, there is a very different workflow in the NFL than in college. In the NFL, you do everything yourself. Everybody thinks there's these giant staffs and all this help, and there's not. Like, if you're a position coach, you're earning your money. You're doing your own PowerPoints. You're doing your own film cut-ups. You're doing your own, presentations. You're doing your own free agent visit itineraries. You do it. You don't have a support staff to do it for you. The college model has been very support staff driven. So that's what Ryan and a lot of college coaches are used to. And that's not a bad thing. But now with this staff, he's learning how to be an NFL coach. And I think that only increases his value both in this building and in future buildings. And I think every coach at this level, they can coach where their feet are at, but they definitely want to either get back to the NFL or, become a coordinator at a higher level or be a coordinator at this level. Like everybody's got ambition and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think this has been a tremendous opportunity for Ryan to grow as a coach as well as add value to our building.
So I'm still kind of stuck on when you was talking about like the soul of the defensive line and how hard they work. And it got me thinking, right, that the game has changed. The college game has changed so much from back when I played in 2010, back when you played, right, to when you first got here to now. It has evolved rapidly. So my question is, like, how do you even identify those players? Like, seriously, like, how do you even, because everything is, we saw what happened with Nico Iamaleava, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we heard about some of those players, even more players even threatening to sit out before the college football playoffs even started.
Yeah.
And to me, especially at I've been grappling with how do mid-major or group of five or whatever. I don't even know what it's called now. It's changed
I don't
so
know
much.
what it's called either. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called now. So
Yeah.
It's like how it seems as if everybody is looking to for opportunity for a stepping stone for more money. That's it and that's all. I don't even know if opportunity or having a guy that's such as valuable as Sam Mills and how he's able to connect with the soul of a player, that's valuable, but it has to be valued by a player, right? I know how valuable it is, but does this player in this era, how do you identify that type of player to that can connect, that can value these type of coaches and these things that the staff will be able to bring to these players?
That's kind of a both and proposition.
Mhm.
I think everything you said about the mindset of a modern player is true to a certain extent. There are players that are 100% motivated by the bag, and everything is a stepping stone to get to the next bag. I
Mhm.
personally think that is the worst way to approach it, because they're actually costing themselves money. They can't see the crystal ball that I can see 10 years out and how much they're actually hurting their value as a potential earner one day instead of helping it. It's like a little now, sacrificing a lot later. But that is definitely a motivation of some players. Then you have the player that isn't very good that wants what you're talking about. They were the high school okay player that loves being part of a team, that loves being part of something connected, that their whole identity is shaped in the tribal feel of being in a position group or on a unit or on a team. The problem there is they're not good enough to win with. And then you have this gap in between. And I would say if the 10, 9 and 10 is the solely motivated by money, and then you have the 1 to 3 is the Johnny that just wants to play and be part of something. The 4 through, I forgot my first number, let's call it 8.
Yeah, four
That's
through eight.
that's the secret that that's what everybody's looking for. You're looking for the 8. You're looking for the highest potential player that isn't motivated by money. They're motivated by something bigger. But then that drops down, like the skill level of that player drops down too. Um, and that's what you're kind of trying to find. Think of Moneyball. I think this is the thing I've had the most success trying to explain to people. And I've actually had some other mid-major coaches go, when we've had this conversation, kind of the light bulb goes off. When you look at how the Oakland A's built that team, they weren't looking at bad players. Like nobody wants bad players. They're looking at players that brought value in areas that were not necessarily um, rewarded, right? Like
Yeah.
batting average was rewarded, but on base percentage wasn't. Like that's one of the big takeaways of Moneyball. Um, there's a lot of other things, but what Moneyball did was it forced everybody to relook at what true value is of a player. And I think in the old recruiting model, especially in the South, because Nick dominated this for so long, that it was all traits driven, right? It was, and it matters. Like, and I've been in NFL draft rooms, like I've seen trait evaluation at its highest level. It does matter. Arm length, joint structure, explosive qualities, hand size matters in a lot of things. Ankle flexibility, hip flexibility, thoracic flexibility, yada yada yada. Those are all things that matter. But I think they've been overvalued as money has been put into the equation because money makes you more of what you were before you got it. So if you were a turd that had great traits and I just gave you a bunch of money, you're going to be a bigger turd.
That's true.
But if you're a grinder and if you're a intrinsically motivated kid and you're hungry for success in every area of your life, and I just gave you money, you're going to be hungrier because you're going to get a taste of what is out there and you're going to want more of it. Why do I say all this? Because we've had to relook at what the value of a good blazer is. And we have a litmus, we have data on what it doesn't look like, right? Because I bought into a lie early on of overvaluing certain things because my life football experience had proven that those things matter. But the big mistake I made, one of the many mistakes I made, was actually compensating that. And now we got more of the bad when things got hard instead of the more of the good when things got hard. When we looked at the defensive line, we looked at really hard downs. We looked at really tough situations. We looked at life adversity. We really dug into the family structure. We did relentless vetting of their character. We met their parents, loved ones, siblings, aunts, uncles, best friends, whatever. Like we took a lot, we zoomed on Christmas morning as a staff. You know what I mean? Like that we did not rest. There was nobody in this building had a vacation, nor did we deserve one. Like, I don't want to pat on the back, but you play that bad, you don't deserve a vacation. So nobody got a vacation. And most of that time wasn't just watching film. Yeah, we watched a ton of film. We have a personnel department that does a great job. We think we do a good job of identifying talent, but really it was this vetting process of the person.
Mm.
And am I getting so now we think again? I don't know any. I'm not going to tell you how many games we're going to win. I don't know how good we are. We had a lot of guys banged up in the spring, but I will tell you that if I walk the defense line rooms across the hall, if I walk across the hall and I go into that room, that is a much higher character room. Those are guys that love ball. They love working. They love to be coached hard. They're doing the things off the field that matter to us. We really have some off-field core values that really matter to us. They do those things because they matter to them now. There's some leadership out of that room for once. Good leadership, you know what I mean? Like positive leadership. There's accountability amongst the group. So those are trending as if we're going to be much better in that area. They're also system fit guys. And why I gave the Oakland A's analogy, the Moneyball analogy was, where length, I really believe in length. If I'm an NFL coach, I'm drafting length. Length is undefeated when it's paired with competitive temperament and twitch and power and all those things. But you don't need length as a 3 technique in this conference to be a really good player if you have some other stuff. So we valued the other stuff and compromised on some length, right?
Gotcha.
We compromised on some weight and valued twitch and explosion.
Mhm.
We overvalue. We put more of a premium on get off than hold up, right? So like, yeah, there's Bill Clark's defense, which was awesome. Mint defense, 2-gap, punch, hold up. Like it's a
Build
great
a
way to play
wall.
defense. It's a problem to play against. I love that system. I hate playing against it. But they were recruiting it was a different era now. Those guys are very expensive. You know what I mean? To run that defense right now, it's about probably a $2 million defense. We have $1 million for the whole team. So to go, I would challenge any Mint defensive coach to say, awesome, I'd like to play Mint too. How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to find the 4 eyes? How are you going to find the jack? The jack alone is a $750,000 player right now in
The
our conference.
the Jack is usually the 6'5",
6'5 plus,
206.
34-inch arms, 265 to 280, can run, can cover, can drop. Like he's a
Oh,
draftable player. That's a
right.
$750,000 player in our conference.
Mm.
It's $1.5 million in the Power Fours. So yeah, it's one thing as a fan to say, yeah, why aren't they playing Mint? Why are they a 4-down team? Well, we all love Mint. I'd love to play that defense. I can't afford that defense. What you can't afford is a 4-down structure of 8 or 9 twitchy, explosive get off guys that can slice and dice, create havoc in the backfield, create negative plays. Yeah, are we going to hold up like a brick wall in the run game? No. We're not built to hold up like a brick wall in the run game. You have to stop the run different ways. So, you see where I'm getting at with the money
Yeah.
ball analogy? Like, you have only so much. How do you make it go the furthest? My nickname around here is Marty Bird, from Ozarks, because it's like, how are you getting the money to work for you? Right. And still
Yeah.
where the players feel super valued, and they do. But they also understand value isn't just the bag. Values that they can come in here and talk to me like I'm their dad if they don't have a father figure in their life, that they have coaches that care for them, that we're trying to train habits in their life that are going to make them pro earners. Because football is going to end for everybody. You still got to earn that bread. So we're trying to give them the
Mm-hmm.
skill set and the networking to earn that bread. So again, I'm sorry for such this long-winded answer, but it truly is Moneyball. Like we're having to look at this like Billy Bean looked at baseball, what was that, 25 years ago, to somehow find a way to win ball games.
Yeah, and
And
looking
Trent,
for us, we all have
yeah.
tens as wives. Everybody on here, wives are a
There you
10.
Smart
go.
Everybody,
man.
Hey, there you
but
go.
we trying to compensate with what we got. We had to adjust and try to find. We tried to find eights. We tried to find eights, and we found tens. I don't know how it happened, but
Trent,
yeah, I'm sorry.
he's just talking about last episode. We talked about the Bill Belichick
Oh
Oh
situation.
no
yeah.
no no no.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're not gonna bring that up. But Trent, just to follow up with Darian's question, like, is it frustrating for you to see some guys hit the portal, but at the same time, like, go to an program? Like, is that frustrating you, and let alone a conference rival in the
Yeah, that's
American?
that's that's been hard. Most of the portal exits I've really been able to celebrate. I mean, most of them sat, right there. And it's been a really good, hey man, love ya. And it's both ways. It's mutual
Mhm.
affection, it's
Good luck.
hug. But man, I can't. Like, I don't got that. I wish I did. Yeah, I think you're worth it. I mean, I sat with five this offseason, like, I think you're worth every penny you're about to get. I just don't have it, so go get it. Um, the ones in the conference are tough because said program has 10x the money. And said program can, and again, I don't want to say that our starters are going to be not starters. That's not what you hear me saying, but they are going into loaded rooms. They're going into loaded rooms with proven
Hmm.
starters, with proven producers, with all conference players. And said school can recruit them because they can pay for the fifth or sixth guy in the room what I pay for the first guy in the room. That's where it gets frustrated. And then to try to explain to the player, like, and more is coming. Like, our institution is really working hard to build the coffers. Mark Ingram has done an incredible job of, like, finding every possible solution to help this athletic program, specifically Andy and I. So good things are coming. Like, there is hope. There's a good vibe amongst coach, administrator. We're all in this thing together, and we know that it's going to get better. Player doesn't see it, so player jumps before he gets to experience the fruit of so many others' labor that are going into this thing and opportunity. They don't value opportunity as much as they should. And it's hard. It's almost impossible to get them to understand that. And it's not really the kid as much as the parents, the agents, the high school coach, somebody that's getting something because that kid is moving. And the poor kid doesn't realize that the opportunity that they are leaving outweigh the value of that opportunity is exponentially bigger than a little bit of money. And it really is a little bit if you play this thing out 3, 4 years with opportunity as part, but they all think they're playing in the league. Every one of them thinks they're playing in the league. We have 84 years of professional football experience on the staff. I think we're third. We might even have more than North Carolina. I'm not sure. I haven't added theirs up. Before Bill, we were second to Colorado. Let's call us third. But the third most professional football experience in college football. We know what an NFL player. We may have made a lot of mistakes. The one thing we do know is when a professional football player is in our building. We know that. We have not been wrong with scouts. Scouts come by, we give their grades. This is what we think. 95% of the scouts agree with us. Mac Mac McWilliams,
Hmm.
training camp 2 years ago, New York Jets, Philadelphia Eagles. I said, third or fourth rounder if he stays here, fifth rounder if he goes to a bigger level because he'll get exposed a little bit. Had a fourth round grade when he left us, ends up being a fifth round pick. Jalen Key, Phil Savage tonight. Third round pick, fourth round pick if he stays here, priority free agent, seventh round if he leaves. He leaves. Last pick of the draft. Tajon Palmer, undraftable. Nobody wants him. Backup. They told us to move on from him. I see him in the spring. I call the Arizona Cardinals. I got a fifth, sixth, seventh round pick for you. Trust me. Sixth round pick. So we're not wrong on this very often. We're telling these kids, you're not a professional football player. No matter what anybody is telling you, you will not play in the NFL. So if you stay here, you're going to play more. You're going to have a better college experience. You're probably going to make more money because I'm going to have to keep paying you to just keep you here. You cannot get that through their heads. We've tried so hard. When we do have an NFL player and we say, listen, you're an NFL player if you play. I did the draft for 8 years. The number one indicator on a guy being drafted in the third round or later is snaps played, not school, not stars, not conference, not any of that stuff that people talk about. It's snaps played. So do you want to play 800 to 1,000 snaps for us this year, or do you want to go play zero? What do you think's better for your NFL chances? What'd you three say? Probably 800 to 1,000.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah, you need
logical
all the
people.
opportunity. Yeah, need all the
Most people would
opportunity you
say
can.
800 to 1,000. Can't get it through their head. Just lost one that will play zero snaps that would have played 1,000 snaps for us. So that's that part, John, very frustrating because I hurt for the kid. I hurt not for me. We'll go on the portal. We'll find an addict. We'll find a player equal to, if not better, because they're older. They've played more. I feel bad for the kid. We have 14 players that I've recruited, developed that are in the Power Four right now. Many of those I'm very happy about. Some of them, it's the worst decision they've ever. It'll cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions.
Coach, while we're on the topic of money, I'm not sure if you heard or saw this, but recently I read a news headline that said Alabama high school football player rejects $750,000 NIL offer. Now, given your experience at the high school and now the Division I level, does the concept of a high school football player being presented $750,000 surprise you at all? And how much do you see the stuff we're talking about now at our level trickling down to the high school level as well?
So it's a great question, Jimmy, because I lived the beginning of it in Nashville. So I had, I don't want to use their names. I'm not sure if I can use other players'
Yeah.
names, but I had four of the highest recruits in the Southeast on my last high school football team. And we were starting to experience this, that if I would have stayed there, my next year, I would have dealt with this at a very high level. That NIL was being offered now in other states for high school
Hmm.
players, and my players would have been. I know one player for sure was offered $1 million the next year to transfer to another high school,
Hmm.
but then that deal was also tied to the college he would commit to.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now I
Mm.
wasn't there obviously, but I know this because I know the parents and I know,
Right.
I knew really close to this player. Um, it doesn't surprise me. I like what Fran Brown's doing. If this is going to trend this way, somebody has to come in and say, cool, let's give the kids a bunch of money, whatever. You can't put any brakes on this. But a large portion of that money needs to go to a long-term annuity that they
Hmm.
can't collect on until they're 59. Or at least, like my agent did that to me. My first signing bonus, a big part of it went stuff I still can't touch. I'm 53. I can't touch it till I'm 59. Um, or at least a 10-year, something that holds it for 10 years. But don't let these kids have the money. Right? You can't, again, money makes you more than what you were before you got it. And unfortunately, everybody has an opinion on this. I watched it, 14 years in the league, watching young players come in and just not be able to handle the money and blow it on frivolous things that ruin their lives. because they established a lifestyle that they can't maintain. And so that's what scares me about that. It doesn't surprise me. It scares me. I've talked to some P4 coaches that are buddies of mine that, are some of the best coaches in the country. It's the thing that keeps them up at night. The portal doesn't keep them up. You know what I mean? That's free agency. We all understand NFL free agency. The portal doesn't keep you up. It's this high school entitlement that comes with the money. It's recruiting. Now recruiting high school, it used to be so awesome and so pure, and a kid would get a full ride offer. I mean, I remember when I got mine, I bawled. I mean, like, no way. They're gonna pay for my school. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, I didn't even
yeah,
know there was a stipend. Like, I just thought they paid for the school, and then
Hmm.
your
yeah.
parents paid for the rest, right? Like, and that wasn't long ago. I remember being at Lipscomb and having our first kids because they were so bad when I first got there, and then we started getting good enough where our kids were getting full rides. And I mean, it was like we literally had like those little party poppers, and would throw a party for the family that night when they got their offer, a committable offer, because it
Hmm.
was a scholarship and somebody valued me. I get to go to college and play college football. The purity, the innocence of that is leaving. Now, not at our level. We're not paying high school kids, and a lot of people in our level aren't paying. Troy's not paying high school kids. South Al's not paying high school kids. Now your Memphis's, Tulane's, USF pays high school kids a ton. That's their model. So good for them. But man, for the most part, our level doesn't have to deal with that. But man, these Power Four coaches are like, what are we doing? What are we doing to get that kid? It costs that, and we're going to bring a knucklehead in that we're normally they come in early enroll or junior, teaching them how to just show up, how to be a college kid. You know how
Going
much
to
harder
class
that's
on time.
yeah, get your butt there on time. You know how much harder that's going to be when the kid's living in a $10,000 a month loft in downtown wherever. How about
Hmm.
this one? This is the one that gets me. You have Power Four programs that have 20 plus people on their rosters, many of them being freshmen, that are the third highest employee at the institution.
Mm.
Man.
President, head football coach, said players. Let
It,
your brain wrap your brain around that for a second.
Mm.
Okay. You have some where he's the second highest paid employee, and you have a few where he's the highest paid employee. Right now, I'm not going to use the school. There's a quarterback that just got a check that is more than the head coach makes and 7 times more than the university president makes, is what I've been told.
Wow.
That's one
I'm
player.
so I'm gonna name out a school because it's public. Man, everybody talked about it, but and it's a high school player, and everybody heard about that. But up at University of Michigan,
Mhm.
the high school quarterback was it offered? It was either $8 to $10 million when he got Dave Portnoy and all those guys got involved with billionaires. I believe Larry Ellison to pay this kid to decommit from LSU,
Mhm.
right, to come to Michigan. I don't. That's going to be more than a head coach for that year, and that's going to be more than the president. I'm assuming for an unproven guy. When I started seeing it go in that route, I was like, what do we do
Well,
at this level?
I think it's interesting if you don't mind me pontificating more. I've experienced this. This hurt us last year big time. We had players that came in later in the portal, so their value just to get them, they cost a little bit more. And we're talking pennies here, guys. Like we're not talking big numbers. But player that came in the spring is making whatever. Okay, I don't want to use numbers, but he's making this. Player that came in December is making that. It's not a huge gap. But that became a problem. Why he making more than me?
Mm.
I went through spring. So you start having those issues at our level over small numbers. Now you go to these power fours and you have a freshman that hasn't proven he's never gone through he's never gone through the fourth quarter program. Right? He's never done mat drills. And he's rolling in a Lamborghini. He's got a $10,000 a month pad. He's wearing diamonds everywhere. Right? He ain't eating at Chipotle each night. He's Uber eating steakhouse food in.
Mm.
He's living
Right.
pimp. He's never
Mm.
gone through a mat drill.
Wow.
And you got a fifth year right guard that's gone through three knee injuries, 4 separated shoulders. His fingers are mangled. He's got 42 career starts. He's been all conference, and he's living in a college $1,000 a month apartment, waiting for that check so he can go to Olive Garden that night. This is happening, guys.
Yeah, that's true.
38 career
I know
starts,
the
all
feeling.
conference, eating an Olive Garden. 18-year-old punk, never been through a mat drill, driving a Lambo. Good luck building a team.
Yeah.
Oh, so wait, I know we have rev share incoming, and you just talked about the data. Well, it's so new. I feel like we're in the Wild West, right? So of course I feel like we're in a bubble to where we still have to collect data to see how to best handle it all. With rev share coming, and I wonder, do you know, or can you speak to if it's anything maybe on the horizon of maybe contracts or buyouts or something that can kind of offer some kind of solitude for us?
Yeah, I think there'll be a settling. I wouldn't say there's going to be guardrails. There's not going to be true boundaries. There's not going to have oversight that it needs. But at least it's gonna go from the wild, wild west where you just go kill people to like homesteading, where at least there were sheriffs, right?
Right,
If you
right.
want an analogy, if you like old westerns, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
where you could just roll down, start killing people, boom, 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 you're dead, I'm taking over. That's where we're at now. To, hey, at least there's some sheriffs and U.S. Marshals. If you go kill somebody, you might get arrested and you might get hung. Like that's
Right.
kind of what these contracts will do. Um, it's still, you know, you see both sides of it from my seat. You see where some of the advantage goes back to the institution, but you also see how these players with 2 portal cycles and free
Mhm.
agency and agents being involved and lax NCAA rules and really no oversight, how they can kind of play the game too. Um, it's still tough. I mean, I don't think you'll find a single human in college football that says this has any level of function. I think everybody 100% would say this is dysfunctional. It's, can you wake up every morning and not have that mindset? Can you not complain about something, instead go look for solutions? And again, that's not just a tagline. It's how you have to live, because you would be, whether you're, Coach Venables at Oklahoma, or whether you're me, or whether you're Coach Hatch at Samford. Like the problems are there for all of us.
Mhm.
It's, can you not focus on the problems? And my mom taught me something years ago that I used in parenting, and I counsel people all the time on: little kids, little problems; big kids, big problems. If you don't, and that's really college football. Like Hatch has his own issues, right? He's a little kid, right? We're a little kid. Uh, they're problems, but they're little relative to the big schools, because the big schools are dealing with stuff that is massively toxic. Here, at least, it's manageable.
Coach, can you give us an idea of where things stand scholarship number wise and how active you and your staff plan to be here in the portal?
We have uh, 10 spots that we need to fill to hit our number. Um, we feel really good about our plan. Now, you don't know what's going to happen in the portal. Um, we're not looking in many areas. We're looking for competitive players at every position. We kind of have a best available mentality. We've moved a little bit away from a certain number in each room. That's been the college model forever. We just want to make our football team better, but we also don't want to lose what we've built in, since January when the kids came back. There's a lot of kids that earned stuff this winter and spring. We want to make sure that the earners get rewarded instead of the new guys that haven't invested. There is a cost of doing business in this portal. Again, you have to take a money ball approach. You have to, use discernment and not overpay. But again, it sounds like a big number, but that's not a huge number for this time. And then we had some positions that we were dramatically low, like offensive line. We are way under our number. So we're going to do old, we're going to do young, we're going to do mid. Like we're trying to build the room not just for this year, but for future years as well.
Darian, do you have anything? One more question.
Yeah. So, and that's we've had this debate before. I've talked to the guys about this. So when you say, it'll be old, mid, whatever, high school guys, and I'm not in the room, so I don't know. But just from my philosophy sitting out, my recruiting philosophy would be, hey, we're at UAB. What can we offer guys opportunity? We need the, a D2 guy. Oh, give me the old D2 guy that's looking for opportunity that has had a ton of production, right? Because I've seen with some of the young guys we've had, and it frustrated me seeing it. I understand, but you get a guy that didn't nobody really want out of high school. He redshirt a year and then he plays 1 year. He has a pretty good season and then he gets a 6-figure bag somewhere. To me, and you can answer this better. Do you is that good return on production in this day and age?
Bad ROI, right? So this is the $1 million question. Literally $1 million question. Are you cursed if you're a good recruiter? And the answer is yes. So far, for 2 years, we've been cursed by being really good at what people value as the most important thing in college football is recruiting. So you go back and you look at recruiting classes, and again, I've never once looked at rankings. I've never, when was the Elite 11, how many 5-star kids we didn't invite, and invite a 1 and 0-star kid to play in the NFL is mind-boggling. Just if you ever want to go back and do the data. I don't put a whole lot of weight in the stars. I do put a whole lot of weight in coaches I respect that are recruiting players because they see the same thing that we'll see. But we've had these recruiting classes that we're really excited about. We say, hey, we're excited about said recruiting class. And then, but, you don't get real hoopla about it. People don't really know because we don't try to recruit to the stars and all that stuff. But then you prove that you're right, because like you said, those players redshirt, the Boise State model from years ago, or they get some limited time as a freshman, but they become men, and then boom, we play them their second year, and they're really good players, right? Well, you're cursed because something that should have been a good thing, you found diamonds in the rough, you coached them up, you developed them, you got them to a certain level of football and life maturity, and now you're punished for it because you lose them. And that's what's happened to us, And so wouldn't it only be a lunatic to maintain a model that's you've been cursed? Like, what's that line?
Insanity. The insanity.
Yeah. Do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I'll say that we're still interested in this model. We have more resources now. Mark, the administration, we're gonna be competitive. We have to win this year, so we're all here. But we are gonna be competitive. The tide is turning. Good things are coming. So I don't want to abandon that model because it's been really good to us. Imagine if we still had those players. We'd be looking at our roster and be like, dang, experienced, talented, still with years, NFL grades, Alabama, Georgia kids, homegrown, Mississippi, homegrown, like dominated our 300-mile drive radius that everybody talks about. Like, we've done all that. We've done everything I said we would do in recruiting, but it's cursed us. But we've been pretty good at it. and we have more resources on the horizon. So, Darren, we're trying to do both. So we're trying to identify the undervalued money ball lower level player or the upper level player that we know about their high school recruiting. We recruited them, we lost on them, but now they want to come back to the level that they should probably play at. Those are very interesting portal additions for us, especially if they're wired the right way. But I don't want to give up on Cam Shanks anymore. I don't want to give up on Chris Bracey. I don't want to give up on, I can go on and on and on. Right?
Yeah.
Delano Townsend's the best story of them all. Okay. I don't know how much you know about it, but I
Yeah, it
found
hurts
Delano
me.
Thompson on an Instagram DM. I don't Instagram DM. Like I just recently learned how to do it. My daughter was doing it and I went, man, he looked good. I hit him back. That was Delano Townsend. Nobody wanted him.
Mhm.
We started going down the road, recruit, and then we get him in here like, oh, we got some work to do. But he worked hard. We worked hard. Kid got a massive bag from Ole Miss, probably going to play. I don't want to give up on that anymore because we feel like that can be a really good building block for us if we can retain them. And we
That's,
feel like we
that's,
have the hope of retention.
mhm.
So it's a both and, man. It's a great question. And it just everybody needs perspective. You know what I mean? Like you can say anything you want about me, you can criticize me, it's all fair. My record says it's all fair. I do want us to deal in some factual stuff though every once in a while. And
Mhm.
the facts are we've been cursed by punished by being good at something. When does that happen? You know what I mean? Like I hit such a good 4-iron on a 220-yard par five that I hit the flag and it went into the water.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what's happening. I hit this beautiful wedge. It went right over the flag. It stuck back past the pin into the water. Like that's so like, do I stop hitting good 4-irons and pitching wedges? Or do I just trust I'm going to keep striping on the middle of the face, do what we think we're pretty good at, and hopefully not get punished for it? Like that's kind of the state of recruiting at UAB. I don't know how else to explain it. And I hope you
Yeah.
don't take it as being defensive. I'm not defensive
No, no,
at
no.
all. I
No,
like it
I
is what it is.
understand it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely understand it. So I guess what my thinking was, if you know, and you're right, like you recruited these young players, but if you know you're gonna hit that flag, right,
Yeah.
which is retention,
Yep.
because they're gonna get a bag. I'm like,
Yep.
dude, I love these players. I love these stories, and I think it hurts these kids because they get them. They have that opportunity. But if you run into that so much as a staff, I feel like at a certain point you're gonna well already as a fan.
Yeah.
Kudos to you guys for still like, you know what, we're not gonna give up on it because I would have gave up on it and say,
Well,
you know what, give me the 25-year-old kid that's been
Darren,
playing for six
Right.
years.
Darren, you ain't wrong for saying that at all. That those conversations have happened. Like lonely moments. You know, football, I've said this, football sucks when you're losing. Like everything sucks.
Mm,
My wife's like, I know you use that line about me that I'm not that good looking. You know, when you lose, she goes, by the way, it works both ways, dummy. She's like, you're fat,
Mm.
you're bald. Like when
Gosh.
you lose, you ain't as attractive either. I'm like, fat, like you're right. Like football sucks when you're losing. So there's been some lonely, painful, oh, come to Jesus moments through this brutal process. And those conversations have come up. Why in the hell would we keep doing this? You know, I'm sitting in December, I have 41 players on the team. 41 and
Mm.
half a staff. Like, you don't think that was a lonely moment, but you know, my faith plays a big part of it. You know,
mhm.
God, you're teaching me something.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, so keep teaching me. I'm willing to learn. I know I don't have all the answers. I know you want to grow me. God, I'm also asking you to do your part and pull some miracles off
Right.
now. Turn some water to wine now. Like we're gonna need
Yeah.
some water to wine, loaves of bread, feeding the masses, 5 fish feeding everybody type stuff going on around here. So I'm gonna trust you to do that. But okay, do we give up on something we're good at? And I do see hope. Like I see in December it not being the Cam Shanks Delano conversations. Me be able to go to him in December before a bowl game and be like, yo, you've earned this. Here's a contract. Boom. Like, yeah, you probably get a little bit better, but not a whole lot better. Like I think we're gonna get, I believe we are gonna get to that place. So we're gonna recruit high school kids like crazy. And we're only recruiting high school kids that we think they can play at a high level in the first year or two.
Gotcha.
Coach, I've got one last question for me. I know we have a hard stop here at the top of the hour. Just can you help us understand, UAB fans, what's next on the calendar as we continue
Yeah.
in the off season? What the next couple of months look like for you?
Yeah. So believe it or not, it sounds silly, but the golf tournament's huge for us. Like with this era of rev share and institutions having to find every scrap to put into rev share, the golf tournament's a huge fundraiser for us. So uh all hands on deck trying to create a great golf experience on May 12th at Bentbrook. You can get all the information wherever. I'm not asking, begging for money, but it is cool. And it's very beneficial to us. Um, Recruiting like crazy. I mean, it's really, I was up at 3 this morning watching tape. Um, Coaches have office hours, but they're not listening to the office hours. They're working through, crazy, just identifying prospects, talking to prospects. Big visit time, next week. We've had a few come in already, but starting Monday, it's an endless cycle of official visits. Scheme review, spring tape review, cut ups, trying to fit our player, because spring ball, you throw everything out there. Like, we're going to try stuff today. I don't know if we're going to use it in the fall. We're going to try it. So you kind of filter through all that. What are we going to be defensively, offensively, special teams? I'm starting to build out the summer programming of leadership development and core value integration, all that stuff. Um, Camp season's huge for us, prospect camps throughout the summer. It's still a fertile, really June becomes a high school. We should have be done with the portal by the end of May. So now June becomes high school recruiting. Where we haven't done a great job in the past is, especially defensively, is establishing really, really strong relationships in the summer with defensive players and cultivating those throughout the fall. Um, so doing that in June. And then we will get a break in July. Our players work out. They have their summer program. And then we share office hours in July. So it's really a light staff and we let the guys get out of here. I'm a big believer, as was Saban, as most the people that I look up to were big believers, and you have to get away and recharge the batteries. So whether it's the beach or staycations or at the home, we'll rotate office hours throughout July. And then when we're on vacation, there's still a lot of football, but it's at your own, leisurely times. Always checking in with our players. And the one thing we're really, really passionate about here is staying connected to our players. So not micromanaging them, but, group threads, room threads, unit threads, what you up to. Our quarterback gets married in May. A bunch of us are going. um, so that's kind of the calendar, and then we'll kick off. I haven't announced this officially, but I'm pretty confident we'll kick off that Monday, the 28th. Excuse me, Monday, the 28th of July. Hit training camp and get ready to fix this thing, because that's really, that's been the message is when something's broken, you got to fix it, right? And you have to admit that it's broken. You can't you can't walk around in la la land like these delusional kids that think they're going to play in the NFL. Like, we're losers right now. How do you turn into winners? So when you're broken, you got to fix it. I learned this lesson the hard way in the NFL and was able to fix it. And every stage of my life, you've been broken. You got to pick up the pieces and fix it. So we're in the fix it solution mode all the time. And whether you're in Birmingham or you're in, Orange Beach, your job is to help fix the problems that we have in the program right now.
All right. And Trent, thank you so much for taking the time today
Anytime,
to
guys.
talk with us. It's always a pleasure,
Yeah,
talking
it
Yep.
with
was
you.
fun.
And hey, Darren, you want to close us out?
Yeah, I was about to say this was really good. Like I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm just like, oh, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm just talking ball. Like, okay, and I feel like you brought some good answers. Um, it's not about being right or wrong. It's just about being truthful and insightful. I feel like, and I appreciate you for giving us that.
I'll always be honest with you guys. Darren, are you getting the alumni letter? Like, has that been a hit?
I haven't received anything
Okay. Well,
personally,
we've
but
been doing an alumni letter. It's going out, trying to let, ex players, people, Blazer Nation have more access, trying to do weekly updates. Um, I want people to feel like they're part of it. I
mhm.
really think the thing that will help bring us all together and help success on the field is if everybody has kind of that emotional tie to the program. And that could be a negative emotion, but passion is never a bad thing, right? Like I
Right.
always say, I love criticism because it means people are passionate about it. So
Yeah.
I think the more we can fuel the passion of Blazer Nation, the better off we all are.
Yeah, and if we've ever been unfairly like I know we've been critical, but if we've overstepped our boundaries, please let us know.
Have you ever Googled me? You should try Googling.
Yeah.
Like that. Listen, the joke used to be in the NFL. I learned this from Elway actually. He said, if anybody asks what your nickname is, just say Goodyear. I'm like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. He goes, because you better have skin as thick as Goodyear tires to play quarterback in the National Football League. And that
Mhm.
really meant a lot to me as a kid because as a young player, I mean, your families get attacked. I've been booed out of stadiums. I've been lied about, but a lot of it's been true too. Hey, he sucks. Yeah, I did suck at times. Um, you can't let your life be dictated by the opinions of others. You gotta stay true to your convictions and move forward and try to do this in the best interest of the people you're leading. And there's accountability to that. Guess what? If I don't, I won't be here. Like I'm the first person to admit that, right? So you don't, as long as you don't talk about my wife and kids, you ain't crossing the line. Everything else is fair game.
All right. We appreciate it. And just thank you for giving us this time. And I enjoyed the chat. I'm pretty sure the guys enjoyed the chat. Hopefully we can do this more.
Yeah,
And then,
anytime.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And we
let me
can.
know.
All right. Sounds
All
good.
right. For the
People
next
get sick.
time.
People get
Yeah.
sick of hearing and seeing my ugly face, though. So you got to time it out strategically.
Oh no. Well, guys, next time, Blazer Victory podcast. Hopefully, the next couple weeks we'll do something with the recruiting. So, peace out.
See you guys. Thank you.